Nicki don't need to worry
A
about
lot of
Don.
this.
She need to be with damn Don Lemon, and Nicki Minaj needs to be worried about Chris Hansen. That's what she needs to be worried about.
Nicki doesn't need to be worried about Diddy or Don Lemon right now. The real name she should be stressed about is Chris Hansen. And not just him. She should be worried about the courts, the lawsuits, and the receipts stacking up. Because just yesterday, US Weekly broke news that Nicki Minaj's home is at risk of being seized due to a lawsuit. That's not gossip blog chatter, that's legal paperwork. And while social media is busy arguing about politics and clapbacks, the real issue is financial pressure building behind the scenes. Nicki wakes up every day and somehow finds a new way to embarrass herself. After that awkward AmFest moment with Erica Kirk, people thought it couldn't get worse. She believed she was about to drag Don Lemon and walk away victorious. Instead, she ended up dragging herself. Because leaked conversations and insider chatter say this was never really about Don Lemon at all. It's about money. Allegedly, Nicki is spiraling because the income streams aren't flowing like they used to. The brand deals aren't hitting the same. The headlines aren't translating into steady checks. And a major factor people keep pointing to is her decision to marry and publicly defend a registered offender. Let's talk about it. Nicki nearly lost her house over a lawsuit connected to her husband, Kenneth Petty. She had to come up with $500,000 at the last minute to stop the property from being forced into sale. $500,000. That's not pocket change. And instead of stepping back, regrouping, and protecting her image, she doubled down online. That's when DL Hughley stepped in and basically told her to focus on her real problems. He reminded her that arguing with Don Lemon shouldn't be the priority when your household is facing serious legal and financial issues, especially when your husband has restrictions that legally limit where he can go. Nicki's fans tried to spin the settlement as a win because she didn't lose the house. But let's be honest, if you're forced to wire $500,000 because your spouse couldn't manage his legal responsibilities, that's not a victory lap moment. Kenneth does the crime, Nicki pays the dime. That line might sound catchy, but it reflects a harsh reality. She's the one footing the bill. She's the one protecting the assets. She's the one scrambling when deadlines hit. And now people are side-eyeing her political pivot too. Critics are saying teaming up with certain political figures and dipping into new circles feels less like conviction and more like strategy. Like she's trying to open new doors while old ones are quietly closing. Watching someone with Nicki's legacy fumble like this feels wild. She built an empire. She dominated charts. She influenced a generation. And now headlines are less about music and more about lawsuits and damage control.
So you can see the protesters here have gathered over here. They're in the middle of the church. So in the beginning of the church service, the pastor was speaking, and Nicki stood up and said her piece, and then the protesters surrounded her. But this is a clandestine mission. I think they found out one of, according to them, this is according to Operation Pull-Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE, and so here we go.
DL Hughley made it clear he doesn't think she deserves sympathy. His stance is simple. She made her choices. She chose her alliances. And now she has to live with the fallout. So let's break down the house situation clearly. Back in 2024, Nicki was hit with a default judgment of around $500,000 tied to a lawsuit involving her husband. The case stemmed from a 2019 incident in Germany while she was on tour. According to court documents, Nicki had a dispute with a female security guard. During the altercation, Kenneth allegedly struck a male security guard who stepped in to intervene. The male guard, Thomas Weidenmuller, claimed he was attempting to separate the situation when Kenneth allegedly hit him from the side, resulting in a broken jaw. The lawsuit named both Nicki and Kenneth. But here's the part that shocked people. They reportedly did not respond to the legal action in Germany and left the country after authorities issued a warrant for Kenneth related to the incident.
Nicki Minaj's brother and his attorneys thought he would be walking out of court a free man today. Jelani Mirage was convicted last November of repeatedly kidnapping an 11-year-old girl.
Because there was no response or appearance in court, the judgment was entered by default. And even after that ruling, the payment wasn't made immediately. So the security guard returned to court and asked the judge to enforce collection. Specifically, he requested that Nicki's Hidden Hills mansion be sold to satisfy the debt. And the court actually considered it. There was enough equity in that property to cover the judgment. The forced sale process was preparing to move forward. Then, one day before the process officially kicked in, the money appeared. Nicki paid the full $500,000, stopping the sale just in time. So no, she didn't lose the house. But scrambling at the very last second to prevent your mansion from hitting the auction block isn't exactly a flex either. Imagine having to wire $500,000, not because of something you personally did, but because of someone else's actions. That's not just stressful, that's a warning sign. Because your husband, who is already a registered offender, allegedly couldn't control himself. That alone should have been a wake-up call for Nicki, a moment to pause, reflect, and tighten up the household. But instead of handling things privately and protecting her image, she redirected all that energy toward journalist Don Lemon. And that's where this whole mess really took off. Here's what actually happened. Don Lemon was covering a protest in Minnesota where a group speaking out against ICE disrupted a church service. Now, this wasn't random chaos. According to reports, one of the church's pastors, David Easterwood, is the acting director of ICE's St. Paul field office. So the protesters weren't targeting the church because of religion alone, they were targeting leadership connected to immigration enforcement. Don was simply doing his job. He was live streaming the scene, explaining what was unfolding in real time. In the footage, you can hear him narrating as protesters gathered inside the church during the beginning of the service. He explained that, according to a group called Operation Pull-Up, one of the pastors had ties to ICE, which is why the protest was happening there. That's reporting. But here comes Nicki, jumping in without context. Before even confirming the details, she took it personally and started attacking Don Lemon online. Instead of asking questions, she went straight for insults. She posted a photo of a Chucky doll and captioned it, "Don C. sucking lemon is disgusting. How dare you? I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up." That escalated fast. The problem is, it didn't even seem like she fully understood what was happening. She saw a church, assumed disrespect, and went off. But this wasn't about mocking religion. It was about a protest targeting a specific individual tied to immigration enforcement. Nicki tried to position herself as a defender of Christianity, but critics weren't buying it. They questioned whether this sudden religious stance was genuine or just another pivot in her ongoing political shift. Don Lemon didn't stay quiet either. In a statement to TMZ, he responded by saying, "I'm not surprised. Nicki Minaj does not understand journalism and is weighing in on matters that are above her capacity." He also added that a more accurate image for her post would have been a pick-me doll, flipping her insult right back at her. And then it got even messier. When Nicki suggested he should be locked up, Don responded in a video, saying she might want to focus on her own situation instead of calling for his arrest. He even referenced rumors about her legal and immigration status, though there is no confirmed evidence supporting those claims. That turned a political argument into something way more personal. So now this isn't just about a protest or a live stream anymore. It's about pride, image, and public meltdown energy. Instead of letting it pass, Nicki amplified it. Instead of clarifying, she doubled down. And once again, what could have been a small disagreement turned into a headline-grabbing spectacle. Don Lemon made it very clear how he feels about Nicki Minaj. He questioned her stance toward African Americans in this country and even challenged her political alignment. He went as far as suggesting that under strict immigration policies, her own background could be scrutinized. He also repeated online rumors about her citizenship status, though there is no confirmed evidence supporting claims that she is undocumented. He then turned to her supporters and asked a blunt question. Why defend someone, he argued, who appears to attack the very communities that helped build her career? He also called out members of the LGBTQ+ community who still champion her. accusing her of aligning with rhetoric they usually push back against. Whether you agree with Don or not, the hypocrisy debate is getting loud. For context, Nicki was born in Trinidad and Tobago and moved to the United States as a child. In a 2018 post, she openly spoke about coming to America at 5 years old without legal documentation at the time. She criticized the Trump administration's family separation policy back then, writing, "I came to this country as an illegal immigrant at 5 years old. I can't imagine the horror of being in a strange place and having my parents stripped away from me at the age of 5. This is so scary to me. Please stop." That post painted her as empathetic and protective of immigrant families. Fast forward to today, and critics say her tone feels completely different. Now she's appearing at conservative events, praising Trump publicly, and aligning herself with MAGA messaging. That shift has people confused and asking serious questions. Is this financial pressure talking? Is this strategy? Or is this simply her true political identity finally coming to the surface? Some commentators, including DL Hughley, say none of this should be surprising. According to him, Nicki's loyalty patterns already showed where she stands. He argues that she consistently defends people in her inner circle who have faced serious criminal convictions. And that brings up another uncomfortable topic. Before Kenneth Petty entered the picture, Nicki publicly supported her brother Jelani Mirage, who was convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for crimes involving his 11-year-old stepdaughter. The conviction included DNA evidence presented in court. Despite that, Nicki wrote a letter to the judge requesting leniency. In that letter, she described her brother as the most patient, gentle, genuine, giving, selfless man. That letter resurfaced once her political alignment became headline news again. Critics argue that her pattern is clear. She defends her own no matter how damaging the allegations or convictions may be. Supporters, on the other hand, say family loyalty is complicated and doesn't automatically define someone's politics. But the optics are rough. When you combine the lawsuit drama, her husband's legal history, her brother's conviction, and now her MAGA alignment, it creates a narrative that's hard for some fans to ignore. It raises the bigger question of consistency. Can someone condemn alleged wrongdoing in one camp while defending convicted wrongdoing in their own circle? DL Hughley's argument is simple. He believes Nicki has far bigger issues to handle than arguing with Don Lemon online. From his perspective, focusing on cable news personalities looks like distraction tactics when there are serious matters closer to home. Then there's the financial speculation. Some people believe her political pivot is about securing new audiences and revenue streams. Others say she's simply expressing views she always held but kept quiet about. At this point, it feels like the public is split down the middle. One side says she's exposing hypocrisy in the industry. The other says she embodies it. Either way, the image shift is undeniable. So now the question stands. Is this desperation, reinvention, or revelation? The conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon.